Good day, everybody. This is Norm from the Board Game Museum, and this is an unnamed podcast at the moment. So we are going to go ahead and start with our first episode, and I got my good friend Matt Wilkins online with me. Matt, how you doing, man?
Oh my gosh, is this Norm from the Board Game Museum? I am such a huge fan.
Well, there goes my
I'm
ego.
a long-time listener, first-time caller, Norm.
You're not a caller. What are you talking about? Okay, we'll play it. Well, I'm glad that you finally decided to call me.
I'm telling you.
Anyway, today we are going to be talking about vintage board games that you need to play at least once before you die. And the thought is that if you were playing some games with friends, like some current board games or something like that, and you got into a conversation about some of the older games, what games would you recommend to them to play at least once? Games that are just experiences all of their own. Now, the games Matt and I are going to talk about today are the ones that are, I guess you could say, collector's items. They're expensive for various reasons. And we've got a list of a few that we're going to go ahead and talk about. Some of the games Matt owns, some of the games I own, some of the games both of us own. We have not planned anything at all, so we're just going to start yapping away. All right,
Shooting
Matt.
from the hip.
That's exactly right. So I'll go with you, Matt. What's a game on your list that you think everybody should try out at least once that's an older game?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just say there's a game that's on both of our list, Fireball Island.
Yes, Fireball Island.
It's getting a reprint from Restoration Games, which looks amazing. I backed the Kickstarter. The game should be in by the end of the month. I'm super excited to try it out because it looks like an updated version of the classic game. And I'm happy that it's out because now people get to try it. It looks like it stays true to the original game, but yet makes it a little bit more complex for the modern age, which I think is going to be right up anyone's alley, especially if this game retails for whatever, $79.99 or whatever, it's still going to be cheaper than what it is online right now. Isn't it still going for like $150?
$152, I think.
200,
yeah.
Somewhere around there. So you may as well just buy it new and get what I hope will be an even better experience. But Fireball Island, just the base game. There's so many good memories that I had as a kid. In fact, Norm, This Christmas will mark the 30-year anniversary of the first time I ever played the game because I got it for Christmas. In 1988.
Wow, the first time, huh?
I even wrote my first journal entry when I also got a journal in 1988.
Yeah.
And I said, things I got for Christmas this year. And right at the top was Fireball Island. So it's been around in my life for 30 years now. And I know the moment I saw the commercial, I wanted to play that game. It looked amazing. It has marbles. It has a 3D board.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to move around, trying to get the what's called the Crystal of Volcar. Is that a gem?
The jewel. Whatever? The red jewel.
The jewel of the Eye of Volcar or whatever. And you're trying to get off the island. And then, of course, it's every man for himself as marbles are moving all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the new version looks like it's going to be that on steroids, which I can't wait for.
Yeah.
But the old version itself is still a gem. Do you agree?
Oh, yes, definitely. I got the game last year, and we always play it anytime my mom and dad come up, and we always have a blast playing it. It's just such a fun game. And one thing I forgot to mention, and you and I have talked about this, how some of the older games just have these mechanics that you just don't see anymore in today's games. And Fireball Island's a perfect example. It has a 3D board on it, and there's very few games that have that. Crash Canyon is another one.
There are games that use marbles.
Yeah.
So you're talking about using marbles. I mean, to be honest, there's this game and there's one. I don't know. I cannot remember what the other game is called, but it has to deal with marbles where you're pushing. It's like a puzzle game. You have to push one of your slides up or down or to the side. And it's eliminating marbles. You're trying to have the last marble standing. Stay Alive, is that what it's called?
Yes, that's what it is, yeah.
Stay Alive. Honestly, when you think about it, I don't even know if there's a third, besides marble, what's the other one called? The Marble Stadium, where you're twisting the board around, trying to get to the center.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Wait for the center to fall in. Yeah, that one too. But there's not that many marble games, and this is one that is so unique because the marbles are one of the antagonists against the games, if you will. because they're the ones that you're popping off all your friends with, and making them lose their turn. But you got to make sure you plan it just right, because some marbles do not roll the way. There are several different paths.
Yes.
So there's some unpredictability there, which makes for a chaotic game. And like you said, it's extremely fun whenever you play.
And it has cards too that you can play. It's not just roll and move, but the cards
make a strategy, because whenever someone passes you, you get to steal the jewel. Now, I heard in the new version they kept that rule, but I don't see any fake jewel cards like there were in the original one.
Right.
That was what was really fun about it. There are these fake jewel cards, and usually you didn't want them. You didn't need them. You're like, what are these? No, man, they're great to have, because every time someone passes you, you can play fake jewel, and they didn't get nothing. They thought they were going to come up to you on the end and steal the crystal at the last minute, and they got nothing because you had a fake jewel card. I love that. So there is some strategy in this too, which is why it's a great game.
Right, and every time we've played this game, it's always come down to the wire. You can be way ahead, but it's really easy for people to catch up, especially if you get on the bridge, because you have to stop on the bridge, and if someone rolls a fireball, they're going to knock you off the bridge. And the other thing is you have to stop on the bridge. You have to go past it on your next turn. So the game's just got a lot of cool elements. The 3D board is huge. The fact that you can play cards is huge. You can fireball people, you can block people, you can do so many things with the cards, and you can play them, I believe, at any time, most of them. So there's a lot of cool things going on with this game, for sure.
Most of them are reactionary, but you also, look at the art on the board, too. You got skeletons on the beach, like tiny little skeletons. They painted onto the original copy, of course. But the art, even for its day, this came out when?
86, I think. Yeah.
86, yeah. So even back for its day, they put so much time and thought into the game. And that's one thing people don't realize, and we talked about this, I believe, on my podcast, about how vintage games have just unique mechanics in them that people have forgotten and overlooked over time. They went, oh, it can't be good because it's an older game.
Right.
No, there were some very creative people back then.
Oh my gosh!
Fireball Island's a perfect example.
I get blown away by some of the older games that I have. I'm like, I just have never seen anything like what some of the games have. I just haven't, not today. And the games were a lot bigger back then too. A lot of these bigger games. Fireball Island's big box is huge. It's massive, And Torpedo Run's another game that's really big. That's probably got the biggest box I know. But most games nowadays are not that big, No. But yeah, definitely I would recommend Fireball Island for people to try as well.
Definitely. So what's your one?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say the Omega Virus from Milton Bradley.
That was on my list as well.
That was on your list? Oh, yeah.
Of course it is. Go ahead. You talk
all
about
right.
it.
Well, first of all, I love the way the board looks. It's very, very thematic. It's set in outer space, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to your ship has been hit with a virus, and you're basically trying to shut down the virus before it blows up your ship. And there's a whole bunch of rooms that you have to try to go around. You have to get keys to get into some of the rooms, and everybody's trying to figure out a way to do this. And you can set the timer as well. You can set it for 30 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, and the virus is constantly taunting you. But the board looks amazing. It's really colorful and it has these flaps that go down, and it's a big board too. It takes up half my table. It's just massive. But the really cool thing is this is a co-op game of sorts, but you can actually attack the other players and try to steal their stuff. Like, you have to have 3 things in order to kill off the virus, and you can collect these things in the different rooms. But what you can do is, if you're like lacking one or something like that, you can actually attack somebody that actually has it and try to steal it from them to try to get all the credit. But the funny thing is, that's going to slow down. You may end up blowing up anyway with everybody else. So that's just something I have. This is I think this was like late 80s, early 90s. This game came out sometime, but it's an early co-op game, and this came way before games like Pandemic. But this is probably the only game, as far as a co-op game that I know, is that will allow you to attack the other players, which just, to me, is just a fantastic option. You can be a jerk if you want to be, or you can be a nice guy if you want to be. But anyway, what are your thoughts?
I agree. The one thing that I would harp on, though, is the quality of everything about this game. First off, it is one of the smartest. I have another electronic game that I think is really fun. People should play, but to be honest, Omega Virus trumps them all. Omega Virus is just a smart electronic game. It keeps up with where you are, whose turn it is. You don't tell it tells you what turn you go in. You may get skipped around because it's making sure everyone else gets a turn, and you may be further ahead. There are 3 pieces you need to collect in order to destroy the Omega Virus. It keeps up with not only all 3 pieces and what you have and what you don't have, but also what access cards you have. If you don't have access to a room yet, it's going to say, nope, you can't go in there. It knows when you have a little droid helper. So it's a really smart electronic game that shocked me the first time I played it, and still continues to shock me.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh no! Also, the quality in the pieces. The spacemen and the weapons that you attach onto their backpack and the droids are all hard plastic. I mean, not chipped, not brittle, but we're talking good, durable, kind of like that plastic rubber thing. Man, these things look like mini action figures. And if you paint them, which my set that I got, it was painted, they look amazing. They look incredible. And they're easy to paint because they're nice, thick. Yeah. But they look like little toys as well. I mean, there's the quality, like you talked about. Also, about the board, I would also say this. There are little leaflets on the board that fold out into a player board. Yeah. What I mean, it tells you what all your actions are, what buttons to press on the machine. It has a little instruction, like a little easy player guide for everyone. Every station has a player guide. Yeah. And then later, there's even a spot to keep your little key cards. And it's a little hole in the board, so you can slide your little key cards in there. It's a key card holder. Fantastic. Yeah. But also in the game, as Norm mentioned, as the Omega Virus is taking over the battle station, it will force you to flip over one of your player boards and flip it onto the actual board game to close off that wing of the space station. But even if that happens to you, when you flip it over, it's another player board. It just looks a little bit differently because it's inverse, and the hole to keep your notes is still to keep your key codes are still there. You just got to move it over a little bit. It's the smartest design I have seen for a vintage or any board game, to be honest. Yeah. To put the player guide as part of the board is ingenious. I mean, there's so much to talk about when the quality and the thought that went into this game. It's an incredible game. I just did my top 100 vintage board games of all time, and this game just skyrocketed up the list because as I was playing it this year, I just realized, man, this game is way, way better than I gave it credit for. And so and then I lost. We lost the game. Yeah. We set it for a lower time because I didn't know you could do that. And we set it for a lower time, and we lost. I was very impressed. I was like, you know what? This is awesome. Now it's a challenge. So Omega Virus, I would say, it would be an eye opener for anyone who played it.
Well, just the way the board looks, I mean, it's gonna draw attention to itself because it's such a cool looking board. It's real space age looking. It's big. It's unique. Just a fantastic game, and even the instructions. They've got like comic book style instructions in there. When you look at their inside.
Yes, forgot about that.
Yeah. They did a fantastic job with the whole game. I mean, it's a game that's fun, and if you decide to try to attack everybody else, it's just a hoot to play. I mean, I love games that where you're trying to beat the clock, and that's a fantastic game. Sometimes you'll find the virus pretty quick. Other times you're not going to, and with the different difficulty levels, I mean, you can set the game pretty much however you want. I hear there's even a code where typically the virus is going to be in one spot the whole game, but with the code, if you find it and you don't shut it down, it's going to move somewhere else. Right. I've heard that. I haven't gotten it to work yet.
Everyone has a unique code. That's another thing. Yeah. Everyone has a unique code. So you will only listen for that code when it's your turn. If it's someone else's turn and they say your code, that does not mean that's where the Omega Virus is for you. Right. And I like that too because it makes the game even harder. What you may find in that room, like, let's say, Norm, you find I don't know what the devices are called, the dingle hopper. And then I go in there expecting to find the dingle hopper too. No, I find nothing. Right. Or I find a trap where you would find, your droid to help you out. So you need to search every room because rooms that are traps for certain players aren't traps for you. And that's another great thing about this game. This game is amazing. I cannot go on enough about this game.
Me either. I would definitely recommend it for sure. All right, Matt, throw me another game, man. What do you got?
All right, I'm going to throw you another game. This is another game we're both familiar with and we both have in our collection. And actually, folks, it's the first time I found out about Norm. It was King Oil.
Oh, my, yes.
King Oil is just, it's a game, and it'll run you, what, about $50-$60 online?
Round, yeah, with the shipping. I mean, it just depends, but
it depends on where you can get it. But it's a little bit expensive, not as expensive as the other ones we talked about. But King Oil is a game. It's like
this is from the 70s too.
Yeah, and it's so smart because it's got this multi-layered, multi-tiered board that you can twist around at the bottom of the board game.
Yeah, there's 3 wheels, and you can shift them around, and it'll change up the game every time. I think there's like 1,000 different combinations. But
there is. So whenever you stick, and the reason is it sets the depth of each one of those holes because the discs are all different as well.
Yeah, and on the top of the board, there's a bunch of like these oil fields, and there's a bunch of these holes too. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to discover oil, and ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to bankrupt everybody else. So you get these cards that you draw, and they'll tell you how many wells you can drill, and you'll buy these certain sections of land. But anyway, you'll choose how many wells you want to drill, and sometimes you'll end up getting a really good well, which will cost you only $2,000, but other times it'll be completely empty, and that'll cost you $6,000. But there's a lot of unique rules with this, and one of them is that you have to be able to drill a hole somewhere. So if you only have like one piece of land and you can't drill anything, you've got to pay like I think a $10,000 penalty or something like that. And
correct.
Some of the cards will allow you to buy extra land, but some won't. So you have to kind of figure out how many holes you want to try to shoot for.
Yeah, the game forces your hand that you have to drill because eventually someone's going to go bankrupt. And to be honest, I love this. I love the pendulum swing of this game. Some people may hate this, but me and my nephews love it. If you get too greedy, because once you make the call, I'm going to drill 3 holes, you got to drill all 3 holes. If there are 3 duds, you went bankrupt and you're out of the game. That happened on our last game. I think me and my little nephew went out. I laughed at him for being too greedy, and then I did the exact same thing on the same round, and I got booted out too.
That's funny.
To be honest, I absolutely loved it. We laughed because I said, you know what, dude, you went because you got out early because you were too greedy. I said you need to hold yourself. Well, then I thought for sure I had 3 big whales. I said, okay, I'm gonna go 3. 1, 0, 2, 0. And I was like, oh no. And I did 3, 0, and I just looked at him and went, well, there we go. And he went, you got too greedy, Uncle Matt. Yes, I did.
You can also, yes.
It's a surprisingly fun game. I don't want to call it Monopoly because it's nothing like Monopoly. You are trying to eliminate other players and get their land. But oh my goodness, the game is so much fun, and that there's different. Like I said, you can twist those 3 little discs around. Different. I don't even twist them the same way. I twist one right, the other one left, and then the bottom one right again, or something. And so you always what land was a dud one time is rich with oil the second game.
Yeah. And you'll get money also when you draw a card, like for each well. Like sometimes you only get $500. Other times each well will be worth $4,000 that you have. So if you have those derricks, you'll get a lot of money. But it just depends. You just never know. Sometimes there'll be that fire card, and you'll end up losing like some of the derricks that you have. So those cards are no fun.
It's a great game. It's a great game. All right, Norm, what's your next one?
There is a game that we got last year, and you and I haven't played it together yet, but it's called Voice of the Mummy.
I want to play this one.
Oh my gosh, beautiful looking game. It's this is actually a kid's game, but adults can certainly enjoy it. But this is a game that has, I guess, a 3D board of sorts, and it's got this really cool Egyptian theme to it. The board has like all these Egyptian hieroglyphics on it, and in the center there is this big what is that mummy thing called? Like where the mummies are buried? I can't remember the name. It's a fancy name.
I know a mummy's tomb, but it's called something else. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got
it's
got that on there, and it looks really cool. And then it has these 2 really nice looking jewels that you put on top of it. But when you open the thing up, there's a record player in there.
That's awesome.
A record player, and it has this little record that's yellow or whatever. And you put it in there. and the record will basically, you're going to use this thing anytime you land on a Sphinx space or whatever. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get back to your home spot first if you have enough money to win. Now, if you don't, you're going to try to, get the most amount of money. But sometimes you can, if you land on the Sphinx, you're going to hit the little button, and the record's going to say something like, "You have dared entered the Tomb of Doom," and then it'll say, collect a jewel, move a space, or something like that. And then it has the curse too, and you can't win if you have the curse in your hand. Sometimes the record will give you the curse. But what really gets interesting is you can only move in one direction, but once somebody actually gets the jewel, then everybody can move in more than one direction. What everyone's trying to do is steal this jewel because it's worth the most amount of points. But there's all these green jewels too that are around the board, so it's hilarious to play. It's like a dogfight when you start playing it. But this was a game from the '70s, and the fact that it had a record player absolutely blows my mind. And this record player would skip around, and it somehow was able to figure out where it was going to go. It was always different every game too. It would never like play all the same. All the same tracks together, like 1, 2, 3 or 1, 3, 1 over and over again. It would change it every single time, and it's a fun game. And I love the way the board looks. It's just it'll definitely catch your attention when you see it. It's just a beautiful looking game.
It is. It does look beautiful. I've only seen your copy on your review, but I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, and you don't need now my record player does not work, but I have like one of those little Bluetooth speakers that I place underneath it, and I use my phone. I have like the recordings from the record on a playlist, and I just use that, and it works just as well. But you can probably get a copy with a non-working record player for about $80, but normally it goes for around 200, I think. Wow. And there's only two games out there that have that. The other one's called Seance. But definitely a unique game. I'm just blown away by this game. It's a fun game. The record player aspect of it is just amazing to me. This was the early '70s, and they came up with this. I don't know how they they were way ahead of their time. I'll tell you.
Do you remember? And just because you're talking about unique games here, there was a game from the '50s, and I think it was called Ice Cube, where you freeze these little ice cube sticks in your ice tray, and you stick like feet on them. So the ice cube actually has plastic feet, like a popsicle, and you move those ice cubes around, and you're slowly taking steps to melt other people's ice cubes by pouring water on them.
I've not heard of that.
Picking them up with your hand, and holding them in your hand for a few minutes
or
a few seconds. The game's, I think it's a '50s game called, and I remember it was so unique, but when I looked it up, it was like $250 on eBay. I was like, nope.
That's a
too
little
much.
bit.
But I like those unique things that you don't see in board games that much, and that's just the creativeness of, like you said, the '70s, using a record player for a children's board game. That's inventive. That's creative.
That's just mind-blowing to me, I'll tell you. Definitely would recommend that one. All right, Matt, what do you got, man?
Well, my next one is going to be another one that actually, I lied to everyone that King Oil was not when I first met you. I think it was this game. It was Thunder Road.
Thunder Road.
Thunder Road, the uniqueness about it, this is basically Mad Max, the board game, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But, Thunder Road, it's a modular board. It means it can come apart, and you keep moving forward on the board. The board has two pieces that connect and make one long, continuous, never-ending road. And so you're traveling on this road, firing at other cars or slamming into them, slamming through flaming cars, just to be the last one on the road. And I love the uniqueness about this is that moving board. This is another game that's very expensive, but it has a strong cult following. When I was at Gen Con last, there was a guy who brought a tricked out Thunder Road. I mean, like, he made oil spills. He had oil spill cars. He had little fires. He made his own little vehicles. I mean, his own, almost like his hometown game. The only thing that was original, I think, about the board game was the board.
Yeah.
He was used. Everything else was so special and unique. There's a huge following for this game. And
it's a fun game.
Honest, it's a great game. It's just chucking dice. It's so easy to learn. And I swear, you will have a phenomenal time. You don't even have to watch Mad Max.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to watch Mad Max because I don't think at the time I had seen Mad Max when I
Yeah.
saw when I played Thunder Road. Or if I did, I didn't really I knew what it was from, but I didn't remember the movie at all back then. And I love the game. Absolutely love the game. Fantastic game.
Yeah, and I love the
Fantastic.
fact that you have the helicopters too that you can use. You
Yes.
got three different cards, each that have, and it's a very simple dice chucking game. But the helicopters, you can fly those around and try to kill your opponents with them too.
And
Um, and I love,
and
and the fact that the board just goes, they constantly are switching sides and stuff. Oh my gosh, I've never seen a game like that to my knowledge. I mean, I'm sure there's something like that out there today, but this game was out in the '80s, I think.
yeah,
Um,
there's only one other game that I've seen that has, and that's Temple Run, the board game, which I do
yeah,
have, and that's another fun game. I love that too for the same reasons I love Thunder Road. I like that continuous board game
I love
that
that.
just keeps moving on and on and on. Kind of a scrolling game, so to speak.
Yeah, I would
But
recommend that one too. I mean, it's not 3D or anything like that, but it's just unique. It's fun, easy to learn too.
but when I think about board games, I think yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
I
I
love
didn't
it.
know that game had such a huge cult following. I think I got my copy for about $40 or so when I first got it. I think I got it for Christmas. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I got. Well, you have not played this game yet, and I have yet to play this with the original big deal item that this game has, and this is a game called Dark Tower.
Oh, and I was wondering when you're going to bring this one up.
Oh my gosh, this game has got such a story behind it. I mean, I'll just tell you. I mean, this game has an electronic tower in the middle, and the board is circular. Okay, and this big tower's in the middle. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get an army big enough to invade the tower and basically take over it. But you've got this tower has like this carousel that has three different columns on it with these different pictures. And what you'll do is you'll move your character on the board and then hit move, and then the tower will all of a sudden we'll start moving around, and sometimes you'll be safe, other times you're going to get attacked by these brigands or whatever, and you can choose to fight them or not. Other things you got to do is you got to make sure that you can keep your army fed with food. There's a bazaar where you can buy different things. You got to watch out for plague. You got to be careful not to get lost. You got to watch out for a dragon. And the game is probably super cool to look at. And this was back in 1981. But this thing, I think this was one of the first games that used a microchip, if I'm not mistaken, and way ahead of its
Oh,
time.
really? Probably so.
It
Yeah.
was way ahead of its time. It's just such a cool game to look at. I've only played it once with an app. We have the game, and I'm getting the tower back. We just got it fixed. But it's a fun game to play. I haven't played it enough yet to be able to, give a official review because there's so much nostalgia behind this game. There's a big following because this game it costs probably around $200 to get, and Milton Bradley stopped making it because they got sued by these two game developers that introduced a game to them that was similar to Dark Tower. Milton Bradley rejected it, and then later on they made Dark Tower. Well, these two guys sued him, and they won, so Milton Bradley stopped making it. And I think the game might have been out for maybe 2 years or so. And people loved this game back in the '80s. They constantly will tell you how much fun they had and how many memories they have with this game. It was such a cool game at the time, and it's still cool today. And again, Restoration Games is making a reprint of it called Return to Dark Tower because that with them they'll say, "What game would you like us to redo?" That was one of the top games that was mentioned was Dark Tower and Fireball Island. Uh, but just watching the tower, watching those little carousels move, and then all these lights, the game basically just controls its. The tower basically controls everything that's going on. Just fantastic technology for the time. Obviously, it's dated now, but my chiropractor has a copy of the game. He only has the tower, but his kids are absolutely fascinated by watching this tower, and they play the game just with the tower. You know, they love it. It's just such a cool piece of hardware. But yeah, again, you can set the difficulty level, and I would definitely recommend people at least try this game out at least one time, just because it's so unique looking, and the tower is like it's an old. This was back when Texas Instruments was coming out, and you were having to type in commands like 10 run or whatever. And here you have this tower that's basically working like a supercomputer. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was finished.
No, I think Restoration Games is trying to get a reprint of this, but it can't be called Dark Tower for the same reasons you just mentioned there. But since the wild success of Fireball Island, they are definitely interested in getting things that people want. Because Fireball Island was Restoration Games' greatest success ever, and they're ready to listen to more people now because of it. So
it's gotten rave reviews from everybody that that have gotten the game. Everybody loves the game. Eventually, I'm going to get a copy.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so another one of mine, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I said Omega Virus, or you said Omega Virus. That is the greatest electronic game to get. But another really fun electronic game that I absolutely love is called Electronic Mystery Mansion.
I'm getting a copy of that soon.
You're going to love it. The pieces look like they belong in a dollhouse. They're just so cool. And then it comes with a magnifying glass for old people like me who can't read those small letters.
Yeah.
They're small numbers on the little like pianos and furniture and stuff. But the thing is, it is thematic because you're looking everything over with a magnifying glass, and you're trying to figure out where the $1 million is. And to be honest, every time me and my nephews play this game, it stops the whole family. The whole family will sit there and look and go, ooh, what's this? Because it's an eye catcher too. The production quality again with this is amazing. And if it wasn't for Omega Virus, this would be one of the best electronic games out there on the market. I think Electronic Mystery Mansion is fantastic. I was gonna name another game, but I may talk about it later. There's a game you and I both reviewed almost at the same time.
Yeah.
I thought was neat. I'm gonna say it, Mall Madness.
Yeah, that's a cool game too.
I think that's a cool game too. But Electronic Mystery Mansion to me is like, if you love Clue, you'll love Electronic Mystery Mansion because it's nothing like Clue. It's much better, and you're still moving around the room trying to figure out, you're trying to figure out exactly what cards are missing that you need. But I hate Clue. I hate the game Clue, but I love Electronic Mystery Mansion.
I heard, Tim sent me a video, and he was like saying, one of the reasons why he loves the older games is because of the quality of the components. And he had like a Hungry Hungry Hippos game, and he was saying these pieces are junk. You have to put them together every single time. And then he had an old one, and he said, here are all the hippos. The game's all set up, and he's pounding the hippos with his fist, saying, "Look at the quality of these things. You can pound on these things all day; they'll never break." But I was just with the Mystery Mansion game. I watched your video and the pieces look fantastic. Oh my gosh, they are beautiful looking.
Yeah, they're beautiful. It's going to be a good game. You're going to enjoy it.
I was going to say, what would you think about Star Wars Queen's Gambit?
I didn't even know we were going to count that, but yeah, sure. That's a fantastic game. It's almost 20 years old.
Yeah. What is it about that game you like?
Oh my gosh. Star Wars Queen's Gambit unfortunately now goes for $300 to $400 now. The game just keeps climbing in value. If anyone wants to experience what it may feel like, get the new Star Wars Risk. That is the poor man's version of Queen's Gambit. And if you like, that's why I remember when Star Wars Risk came out. What was it, a few years ago?
Yeah.
A lot of people put it on their top 100 board games of all time. They had it, of course, in the low 90s or at 100. But I saw them list Star Wars Risk. I was like, what? But they just thought that was really unique. I said, yeah, because they took off a piece of Queen's Gambit. First off, Queen's Gambit's never going to get reprinted. Ever.
Yeah. It's a massive game too. It
is a shame because it's the best. It is the best game ever mass produced. Mass produced by Hasbro. Hasbro will never make a better game.
Well, the game itself is it's how many tiers is it? 2-tiered?
There's first off they got Avalon Hill to make the game for them. Avalon Hill is an old school, tried and true board game company.
Yeah, they made some great games.
Avalon Hill had the know-how and Hasbro had the money. So they made the biggest, best production of any board game there's ever been for that time. There's tons of miniatures in this. They're great. They're great. They're not the brittle They're the rubbery plastic, so they'll never break. The game came with extra pieces because they knew your kid would lose some. So they even give you more pieces than what you need in the game. Amazing. You don't see this anymore.
How many pieces does the game come with?
100 at least. I don't know. There's tons of pieces.
And they have cards and dice too, right?
A Gungan army with Gungan riders with the big, I don't know what they look like, brontosauruses. You've got the tanks, the carriers, the droidicars, and the regular, what do they call it? Just the regular droid soldiers. You've got the Naboo soldiers. You've got the Naboo starship that Anakin pilots. You've got 2 Neimoidians who serve nothing in the game. They made characters for them, different molds too. All they do is sit at the top of the tower. You cannot move them. They're just there. It's like, what was the point? It was overly produced. It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
There's a Obi-Wan, there's a Qui-Gon, and there's a Darth Maul. And anyway, there's Padme. There's 2 Padmes, and there's a Captain Panaka too. And it comes with a bonus Panaka too, just in case you lose the other one. Like I said, they came with backups of everything. It's fantastic. So anyway, this game takes place over 3 boards, right?
3 boards,
and
folks.
one is, and this plays out the last 15 minutes of episode 1. And if you hated Phantom Menace, you are absolutely going to love this game still. There's nothing not to like about this game. But there's Gungans versus the droids, the Trade Federation, the Battle of Naboo on one board. There is the Naboo Tower, where Naboo guards are fighting off droidicars, trying to get up to the 2 Neimoidians at the top. And then on the last board, it's split in half. So there's 2 sides of this board. One is Anakin fighting the battle in space. He's the Naboo starfighter fighting and they're just cards, but fighting the multiple starships that are trying to destroy him. And then on the other end of the board is a different part of the game where the Jedi are fighting Darth Maul. And later on, whoever wins that Jedi battle will join the Naboo in the tower. But it's amazing because you're playing a deck of cards, and you can't play in all 3 areas.
Yeah.
You got to focus on where you want to play. And the game forces you to because whatever choice you don't make, you will lose ground. And it's aggravating. You're like, dude, I want to go everywhere. You can't. You got to make a decision right then and there. So sometimes you got to lose over here just to get bigger over here, and so on and so forth. And to be honest, this is a game that the Trade Federation will never win unless someone is brand new and doesn't know how to play. Give them the Naboo. You play as a Trade Federation, and I have a strategy that will win. Right. But that's only if that person doesn't know how to play the game. They're not very intelligent. But but you know what? I tell my game group the entire time. I say, okay, guys, here's the game. I said, now, to be honest, no one's won with the Federation. So if you want to play, you may have to fight over who gets the Naboo. No, they fight over who gets to be the Federation.
They want to be the first.
Everyone wants to be Darth Maul. Everyone wants to kill Jar Jar's family. And I love that because you know what? I've never played as the Naboo either. I want to be the Federation. It's just better. And I say that because if Anakin, there's two ways the Naboo win. One, if they can surround the 2 Neimoidians at the top of the tower. And it is a 3D board. I mean, I say it's a 3D board, but there's a 3D piece of towers that you're going up.
Yeah.
And then the other way to win is where Anakin makes it to the droid ship, because eventually it will happen. That's the timer on the game.
Gosh.
Because if it goes too many rounds, Anakin will eventually end the game, and the Naboo automatically win. The only way for the Federation to win is if they wipe out the Naboo guards and the Jedi. Which Jedi are a little bit harder to knock out, but you can do it. Someone has killed. Someone killed. I lost Qui-Gon. Just true to the story. I lost Qui-Gon early in the battle. Obi-Wan beat Darth Maul, and then Obi-Wan fell to a bunch of droids that were hitting him, and they finally got a hit on him and killed him. And so, because of that, it was Anakin that ended the game for him, but a few more rounds and the Federation would have beat me. So there have been some close games before.
Kind of reminds me of the Oregon Trail game where it's so hard to win that game. Kind of reminds me of that. How about
now that you mention it, that is a phenomenal game to play. The Queen's Gambit. If you ever find someone who has it, beg them to bring it out so you can play it. And if you want to, just knock them up over the head and steal it.
Let's see here. I recently came across a Hero Quest game, and
I have played this one.
You have played it?
I have not.
You have not played it? Okay.
Dark World, which I love.
Oh my gosh, that's a fantastic game. Hero Quest, man, I think this game is what started the dungeon crawler genre of games. This was like one of the first ones, I think, and it came as a game system. This game has got Thunder Road. This game has got a huge cult following. One of the reasons is because you have basically what happens in this game is you've got 4 characters. You've got an elf, you've got a barbarian, you got a wizard, and you got a dwarf. And you can play 1 to 4 players, but even if you only have 2 players, you can play as all 4 characters if you want to. And you have a quest book that basically tells you what your goal is, and then only the person that's playing the controller, I believe, is Zargon. He knows where everything is. He knows where the monsters are, the treasure chests, the holes, the pits, the traps, everything. And so, but the other player has no idea. And the only way he's going to be able to find out is if he's moving around the board and he's looking in a certain direction. And then the controller will place all the things on the board as he's looking at them. So if he goes into a room, if Zargon sees that there's 2 monsters in there, and there's a piece of furniture, he's going to place those in there. But the other player has no idea what's there, so it's like an element of surprise type deal. But there's so much with this game. I mean, this game comes with a lot of pieces. It has skeletons, it has orcs, it has ogres. It's got just a ton of different things and a lot of furniture too. Beautiful looking game. The board's very simple looking, but as you start playing and you start filling up all the rooms with these different items, it starts to it starts to look very, very nice. But the cool thing about this game is, not only you have the quest book, but you've also got cards that you can play. The wizard and the elf have these spells that they can play, and Zargon's monsters, depending on what quest you have, can also throw spells. Through the quest book, it starts easy, but then it gets more difficult. But the really cool thing is that the game encourages you to make up your own quests. And probably the only game I've ever seen, or as far as earlier games go, that would allow you to do that. And of course, this game also has some expansions that they made, which go for probably about $200 each now. But that's one of the reasons why this game has such a huge following, is because people have made their own quests, they've made their own cards, they've made their own characters. It's just huge. And the times I've played this game, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know that there's a lot of other dungeon crawler games out there now, that are more current, I would say. But I guess maybe even just from a historical perspective, I would recommend people at least give this game a try. At least try to make your own quest, and there's no limit to your imagination in this game at all. You can do whatever you want to with this game. I think it's just it's a lot of fun. We haven't played it too much because we have a ton of games, but the times I've played it, I've really enjoyed it. I was just kind of blown away by the whole dungeon crawler aspect, where you have no idea what's coming, and you got this big monster coming for you and trying to run and trying to figure out how you're going to kill them all and all this, and the other guy's trying to stop you. But yeah, fantastic game. I would, if you've played dungeon crawler games before, this might not be something new that you have seen, but even so, just for the fact that this was one of the first games that came out, and just because it's got such a huge following, I would recommend giving it a try. It goes for around $150 to $200, though. I ended up trading about 40 games to get this one.
That was a great trade.
Yeah, it was a great trade. It all worked out really well, but it took a little while to get, but it was worth it for me. But yeah, Hero Quest.
And I would tell people, even when we say dungeon crawl, this doesn't mean you're playing a D&D game. It's like a D&D light. You're basically playing a board game, but with a little bit of D&D rules sprinkled in.
Yeah.
So it's not sitting there writing down what your agility level is, throwing a skill check and stuff like that, even though you are rolling some die for certain situations.
Right.
It's a very light version of it, and that is actually super enjoyable. So if you've never played a dungeon crawl, Hero Quest is the grandfather of them all. I have the poor man's version, even though it's not. These games can't. The expansions are super expensive, but it's called Dark World.
Oh, love that game. I've never played it, but your reviews on it are fantastic. I love the look of that game.
Yeah, when I did the reviews for Dark World, that turned a lot of heads. People
Yeah.
didn't realize that Dark World was that good.
Turn mine.
And I love Dark World. I love it because it uses the old I cannot remember what's it called, Mega Clicks.
Yeah.
System where you have a little podium. And they came out way before those Mega
This
Clicks.
was early 90s, I think, right?
Hero Clicks, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It came out before Hero Clicks, yeah. This game came out before that. And so it has a little dial on the podium of the stand where your hero's standing, and you can adjust his health. So you don't have to you don't have to get rid of heart tokens, or, mark how much health you have left. No, it's on his podium. You just turn it around. He goes from a 10 to a 1, and you can get back if you get special formulas. The base game alone is really fun. Now, my nephews and I we finally finished the campaign. The campaign is only 3 games long, but it does take a long time.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time we played, we went through the first 2, but we never finished it. So I finally brought it to him earlier this year, and we finished it, and we had a good time. Unfortunately, I have tainted my little nephew since then. I introduced the game Descent to them, which is the ultimate dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
And that's all they want to play now. So even though they did play Dragon's World and they had a fun time, that is Descent light to them. They said, okay, that was fun. And I know we'll never play it again. I'm kind of sad because I kind of wish, thinking back on it now, I wish I had held Descent back for a while.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, I still want to enjoy Dark World. Dark World is, dungeon crawls a day can get a little overwhelming, but games like Hero Quest and Dark World will not.
One thing about Hero Quest is that it wasn't that difficult for me to learn. I mean, there's a lot of pieces in this game, and the rule book is not huge, but I mean, another thing I love about it is the traps. They have traps like you can search in rooms, but there's actually pits that you can fall into, and you can actually search in the pits too for stuff, which I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. But the way you actually make your own quest is fantastic because you can set your own pits and everything in that game.
And I guess if we're talking about dungeon crawls, I'm going to mention one more.
Go ahead.
But I don't even know what number I'm on right now.
I don't even know either.
Legends of Zagor.
Yes.
Which is way too expensive. It's not worth the cost. I just want to get that out
Rare
there.
game, too. I think that was only available in England, wasn't it?
I think so, but I shared with Norm where I found that eBay auction that no one saw, sniped it for super cheap.
Yeah.
And it's never even been opened.
A sealed copy.
I opened it on my review. I did the opening first and then played the game a few times. Then a week later or so came back and did my final thoughts on it.
That's a $500 game brand new, I think, around there.
Yeah, and I paid a tenth of that. So
yeah.
It was well worth the money I got for it. But playing it, I'm glad I can say, don't get it. It's not worth the hundreds of dollars unless you have some childhood memories attached to it. Yeah. Because I love Dark World better.
Yeah.
I think Legends of Zagor is a fine game. Happy to have it in my collection. Me and my nephews even played it. I think we played this. When I played this game with them, that's when I remembered. I said, dude, we need to play Dark World. So we finished Dark World. Legends of Zagor looked beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. It plays a lot quicker than Dark World, but to be honest, I'd rather play Dark World and probably even Hero Quest than it, even though it's still a good game. I'm just saying it's not worth the hundreds of dollars people are going for. And it's not a game you have to play, but it's in that genre where we're talking about dungeon crawl. So I just wanted to mention that.
That's a game I'd like. That's probably one of those games. I've noticed like some games that I have, it just feel a little bit empty, like they need something more. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to, add things to the game to make it better.
That's the day. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What's some game? Like, there's a few games that we've recently played. Like I think we got, this is just a little aside, we got that Zathra game or whatever. I like the way the board looks and stuff, but the game's pretty simple. So I'm trying to think, okay, what can we do to make this game better? But anyway, I think Zagor is kind of like that. How about It from the Pit?
You know what? That was the next one I was going to mention.
Really?
I love It from the Pit. Have you played It from the Pit?
I don't know if it's still there, and maybe you. I have not. I've seen your review and I've seen the game played. I lost an auction that it usually goes for around $80 or so now.
Yeah.
But that looks like a really fun game. Do tell more.
It from the pit is just phenomenal. It's a fast roll and move. You have this mechanical monster rolling around the pit, randomly sticking out its hand, nabbing people around the outer edge. You can play it safe and go the long way, taking long cuts instead of shortcuts, longer ways around the pit that keep you out of harm's way. But the easiest way to win is to play it dangerously, move around the inside track, and try to get to that treasure first. You have 4 people, 4 adventurers of each color, and they're all different molds, which is cool. And so you can get nabbed 3 times and still be in the game. It is fast, it is furious, and it is tons of fun. It's one of the most played vintage games I have.
Yeah, and
the pit. And I got it for. This is back before I was really getting into that many vintage games. Like I was getting a few here and there, and I had to pay $35 for it, and I was pissed. And then I found out this game's worth $100. It's going for $120 now or something. And I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
So I came away with a steal on it.
Yeah.
And I love it. It is well worth every. I mean, it's almost worth the big money too, because we've played this game a million times since.
Yeah, it looks like it's another one of those 3D setup boards, and it looks really nice. It's very colorful, especially he's like green or whatever. But yeah, it's another one of those games. If you saw on a table, you would stop and look at it.
And the picture has pupils on his eyes, and maybe they were stickers, but I don't have those stickers.
Yeah.
And so I have these yellow soulless eyes that come out of the pit, which is just as scary. Probably more scary here. The soulless eyes are a little bit more scarier. But we scream. We even play a game after we're done where we set up our guys around the pit and we, place bets on who's going to survive the longest.
Yeah.
Or it grabs you. It's fantastic. It from the pit is great. Great game.
That's a game I'm hoping to get in my collection soon for sure.
Good.
Let me ask you about Tornado Rex. You've brought this game
up. That was my last one.
Really? We're in sync, man. This is another 3D board game, folks.
Another 3D board. It's every once in a while you can find on eBay for a good deal. I missed it a few times in auctions here and there, and then finally got it for about the sweet spot you're going to pay is $75, $80. You may pay a little bit more, but every once in a while you can get it for a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, it's for normally about $100 and some odd dollars now.
Yeah, $100 some odd dollars. I got it for $75. It was just one of those times I got it for a little bit cheaper, the $75, $80 range, because every once in a while there's still one. But this was a custom made. He had all his cards sleeved. He put extra padding on the player tokens.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. He took care of it, and it's got a spinning top.
This is the main mechanic, the spinning top.
Yeah, the spinning top, which, to be honest, you don't see at all.
No. Just another one of those wonderful, cool ideas that somebody came up with,
And he won't, and there's different paths to go down the hill. He doesn't always go down the same pass.
Yeah, it's like a mountain pass, right? Like you're trying to climb this mountain.
Get this mountain to, get off, but once you pull the, Tornado Rex card, all heck breaks loose, and it's every man for himself. There are shortcuts, but you don't want to go there because what if it tears through there? He may tear down that board and move directly around your player, because if he's still standing, heck, if he's still on the table by the end it's over, you're in good shape. Once that top hits your piece, pieces go flying everywhere. I mean, off the table.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people playing the game, and every single time they, Tornado Rex card, you have these cards you draw to move, but if you draw a Tornado Rex card, you have to release Tornado Rex, which is the spinning top, and he'll go down the board, and everybody is just, they're just all nervous about if they're going to hit him, and it's just, they're like, sometimes a spinner, and I've seen this on videos, it'll be like just circling this character, almost hitting him, and then he veers off another direction.
And it's such a good feeling when he misses you, just barely. It's a great game. That was the number one game that got played 2 years ago. I haven't added up on my plays for this year, of course, but last year, oh man, it got played more than any other game. Because of course, Tornado Rex, my little nephews and all of their friends love that game. It's a fun game.
Oh yeah, that's another one I want to get eventually. There's one more. There's actually two more I had. I'll tell you the one. It's one you have, and this is a game you love. and I watched your video on it, and I'm like, just another cool idea. The McDonald's game.
Yes.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a game based on the McDonald's restaurant, okay, from the 70s, I think. Matt, tell us about it.
Oh, and McDonald's the board game. It's so much fun. You are moving around the board, collecting food, and giving out orders for different places. And the thing is, you get points by completing the person's order first, but you got to get it right. You can only hear it once.
You have like if I remember correctly, you have like a tray that has all these different food items on it. Like
yes, and you can't just dump out your tray. If any items fall out of that tray, they also count as part of the order. So you have to be orderly when pulling items from your tray. You cannot just because anyone could just dump their tray, throw their. There's another thing. There's a sign in the middle of the game with a little hole in it where you throw your marbles in it, and if you can get your marble in there before someone else throws theirs in, this is so much great. So much fun. There's so much to love about this game.
Yeah, I'm like trying to get the order right is what makes this game so fun because you have to use your memory to do it, and more times than often or not, you're going to miss because some of the cards actually have. Don't they change up the order out of nowhere or something like that? Or
yes, they'll give the order and they'll say, oh wait, change that cheeseburger to a hamburger, and once they say please, that's it. Now the person reading it. Why wouldn't they want to? Well, because that's the only way that you can get. Well, that's the best way you can get extra items. It's hard to restock your items if you're out of a certain drink or milkshake or burger. You can't fulfill the order. So, and there's little spots in the board that'll give you 1 card, 2 cards, but it's random, and you may not get what you want, and you can only have X amount of each item. So the thing is, you want someone to get the order right because that way it fills up your tray to where you can get the next order and hopefully win.
So it's a strategy game of sorts too.
It's very well balanced because if I'm the one giving out the order, then I'm not getting the points. Why would I want to read it? Because I am so short on food right now. I will never win this game unless I get restocked. The only way for me to get restocked is to help someone, and it's so frustrating when you read the order and everyone gets it wrong. You're like, but how did you get that wrong? Because you really want those items. And like that's how I lost the last game. Everyone was so stuck on I've got to beat this other player that they each missed something different. And it was driving me nuts because I was out of food. I was I was like 2 points away from winning this game. I was like, come on, someone get this order right so I can fulfill an order, but it never happened. But that's the way the game's played. It's a great game. The McDonald's game is so much fun.
I would love to play that one. Whenever you come visit, please bring that one. I would have loved to play that one.
Definitely.
There's one other game. My last one, and I just actually came up with this one, was a game I had when I was a kid, and it's Crossbows and Catapults. Have you ever played that game?
That looks great. No, I saw your review. It looks great.
Oh, well, I had this game as a kid. I got it for Christmas, I think, and I have fond memories of this game. And this game now goes for probably around $200, but I managed to get it for about 90 somehow. I don't even know how. But anyway, this is a game... This is a game basically where you have this large playing field that you make. It's about 6 feet long or whatever. You have these little castles, and then you have these little things called caroms that are round, and you'll shoot them at your opponent. He'll have walls around his castle, and you use a crossbow to shoot it on the table. And then you have this little catapult which will shoot it up in the air. And the cool thing about this game is, well, not only is it cool because you have to try to shoot things at your opponent to knock his castle over, knock his wall over, but there's 4 different ways that you can actually win this game as opposed to just knocking over his castle. You can... There's the castle sits over a treasure, so if you actually are able to land a carom in that, you'll win. If you're able to get what are called spies in your enemy's courtyard, which if you land a carom in his courtyard, you'll get a spy there. If you get 4 of the spies, you'll win the game that way. I can't remember the other ways at the moment, but that's one of the really cool things is that they have multiple ways you can win, and the instructions say, if you want to come up with some more ways, feel free to. Fun game. This game has a lot of different accessories you can buy for it. You can get a battering ram that basically, I think it has like a little hammer you push down. It shoots across the table on these wheels and has a fist on the front and can bash through the wall. You have like these, I think you have these what are those things called? Oh, you have a Trojan horse. That's another type of a catapult that it's there. And they have like these orcs that throw the things. You can get these if you want to, but they cost a lot of money. But it's a lot of fun. It's an older game, and I think they made a Battleground Crossbows and Catapults later on. But I like the original one better because there's actually strategy that you can employ in this game. Like if you shoot the carom across the table in the middle, then you can actually shoot it from the middle the next time and hit your opponent's harder. But if he ends up hitting your carom in the middle, he's going to capture it. So there's a lot of, you can capture caroms and stuff like that too. It says it's a kid's game, but when I look at the rules, I'm like, man, these kids must have been really smart. These kids must have been smart in the 80s. Because I tell you, man, as an adult, I love it. It's a fun game. But definitely one, if you can get it for, like, say, around $100, I'd say get it. It's worth your money, I think. So, don't know if there's any other games out there like that. I mean, Torpedo Run comes to mind. But, I don't know of any games where you're actually literally shooting things up at your opponent that are recent today. I can't think of anything, but
no, that's really unique though.
Yeah. Oh, that's all I got for my list, Matt. How about you? Got anything else?
That's it. That's all I got. Thanks for having me on.
Man, pleasure to have you on, Matt. Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to check out Matt's channel. It's under Matt Wilkins. He does his main thing is Star Wars Expanded Universe, and he has his own
board game reviews every once in a while.
Yeah, he has about 300, and he does the vintage board game reviews. I love his reviews. He does a fantastic job. I would highly recommend checking him out. I have a playlist of his vintage reviews on my channel, so please feel free to check him out under Matt Wilkins at YouTube. This is Norm from the Board Game Museum. Matt, thank you so much, man. I had a blast talking to you again, and looking forward to seeing your family soon, too.
Same here, brother.
All right. You all have a great night. We will see you later.